places that shouldn't exist. Sometimes you feel like the earth is trying to tell you something. It's a feeling, hard to explain. There are places that exist by name on maps, but that the mind cannot accept. Not places that defy the laws of physics. Places where the laws of physics haven't yet been defined. Today, we're going to talk about those places. We're going to go there together. And when you return, you'll see the world very differently. I promise. Open Planet TV. Let's begin. The Gate of Hell, Turkmenistan. Somewhere in the middle of the Karakum Desert, there is something warming the night. You can see that orange glow on the horizon from anywhere after the sun goes down. But this is not a city, not electricity, not a bridge, not anything man-made. Or rather, the complete opposite, an entirely man-made disaster. In 1971, Soviet engineers began drilling here in search of natural gas. The ground collapsed, a giant crater appeared, and they set it on fire. They hoped to prevent toxic gas from escaping to the surface. It'll burn out in a few weeks, they said. It has not gone out in over 50 years. To get there, you must first cross hundreds of kilometers of desert. No phone signal, no other cars, no other sound, just sand and heat. But as darkness begins to reveal itself, you notice something. A flickering rose of fire on the horizon. It moves, it breathes, it lives. When you reach the edge of the crater, the voice of the underworld begins to be heard. This pit, 60 meters wide and 30 meters deep, doesn't just burn, it lives. Inside, thousands of tongues of flame dance independently of one another, some large, some small, as if there is another world below, and these flames are trying to escape from it. This is not a tourist attraction. This is a place where humanity's arrogance and nature's stubbornness wage war. The Soviets tried to control the source. They couldn't stop the boiling. Perhaps that is exactly the story this pit is trying to tell us. Some things continue to exist beyond your will. Is it dangerous? Yes. The ground at the crater's edge is not safe. The heat is unbearable. The desert air that drops to 0 degrees at night battles with the 40-degree heat of the day. But the real difficulty is not physical. It's psychological. Standing at the edge of hell and watching the fire is the kind of experience that makes a person feel small. Those who go there always say the same thing. After spending the night alone in the desert and returning to the fire, I began to see it differently. Not a disaster, but a witness, a reminder. This hell could live for centuries, but it won't be able to. The Turkmenistan government is planning to close it. What nature will say in response remains to be seen. Perhaps your time to see it for the last time is running out. You'll be afraid on the way, but then you'll tell everyone about it. And as you tell the story, something will stir inside you. The longing for a pure piece of yourself that you left behind there. The Danakil Depression. Ethiopia. This is the place on Earth that most resembles another planet. To get there, you drive for hours from the airport. the surroundings gradually lose their colour. Green turns first to yellow, then to orange, then to colourlessness. Then you look down from a ridge and you stop where you stand. This is not a valley. This is a place where the Earth's crust has split apart. 120 metres below sea level in northern Ethiopia, the Earth's crust is cracking under the force of 3 different tectonic plates, and what seeps out through that crack is a beauty you will see nowhere else. The ground covered in yellow sulfur looks as if someone poured fluorescent paint here. Acidic hot springs bubble, pH below 2, stronger than stomach acid, salt columns crumble, red and orange mineral layers dazzle the eye. And over everything, a temperature exceeding 45 degrees. Even breathing requires effort. This place does not invite life, it rejects it. And yet life is right here. Extremophile bacteria thrive in this chemical nightmare. The Afar people have lived close to this land for centuries, obtain and salt from it, work in here under this scorching sun. At one time, this piece of land was beneath the sea. Now it is one of the hottest and lowest points of the region. Millions of years from now, when the tectonic plates finish separating, a new ocean will be born here. We are now witnessing the first cry of that birth. When the smell reaches your nose, you suddenly confront everything. Sulfur, sharp, harsh, unfamiliar. But you get used to it, because everything here is already so intense that the smell fades into the background after a while. A tourist desire is not enough to come here. To feel this, you must have something burning inside you, a desire to see the raw state of the world, to breathe in a pre-human remnant, to feel the underground fire at the soles of your feet. This place is the home of that desire. Deadvlei, Namibia. Some beauties appear quietly. Some beauties don't care about you at all. Deadvlei is the second kind. To get there, you must first cross the highest sand dunes on Earth. Vehicles cannot go all the way. You have to walk the last 1.5 kilometers on sand that burns like fire in the heat. You begin to question why you wanted to see this place, why you went through all this trouble. Then you cross the ridge and you forget what questions were even in your mind. White, everything is stark white. The clay pan dried out and petrified thousands of years ago. Around it, the world's highest sand dunes, the red of Sossusvlei, a deep, insatiable red. And on that white ground, black tree corpses. These trees died 600 years ago, but they did not decay. Because there is so little moisture here that decomposition cannot even occur. No rain, no decay, no death. Just standing, just remaining, fighting against time. These are no longer the remnants of something living. They are something else. A monument, nature's own elegy. For photographers who want to capture the most beautiful shots, this place becomes an obsession. When the morning sun shines in a golden tone connecting that red and white, shadows cast those black trunks onto the ground. This moment lasts only 20 minutes. If you miss it, you've missed it. Don't come in the afternoon. Heat exceeding 40 degrees, clay dust, and a merciless sun will exhaust you quickly. Wear high ankle boots. They provide both support and protection in the sand. Bring plenty of electrolyte drinks. And one more thing, walk slowly. Every step of yours treads on a surface thousands of years old. Here speed means clashing with the language of this ground. This place opens itself to those who believe in patience. This place does not listen to you. It does not see you. It simply exists. And alongside it, you simply exist for a while, smaller, more temporary, and nearly invisible. Socotra Island, Yemen. What would you feel if you saw that an imaginary forest was actually real? The moment you take your first step onto Socotra, you experience exactly that feeling. In the middle of the Indian Ocean, 240 kilometers from the Yemeni coast, there is an island. And on this island, after millions of years of isolated evolution, there are plants that grow nowhere else in the world. Hundreds of endemic plant species. Their shapes, colors, growth patterns, none of them are of the familiar kind. The most unsettling is the dragon blood tree. From a distance, it looks like a series of giant upside-down umbrellas. From even further away, like enormous mushrooms. But when you get close, you understand one thing. This tree is not this shape by accident. Its leaves spread outward, open to the sun. This form is a survival strategy developed against drought. It channels every raindrop toward the center, toward the roots. It took millions of years for nature to design this. The island's coastline opens a door to another world. Crystal clear water, white sand, turquoise color. But this sand has never been staged like a showroom by anyone. No one has straightened this beach. It stands as it is. Whatever it is, that's what it is. No luxury hotels, no Wi-Fi. In most places, not even electricity. You drink from streams, spend the night in a tent. The first night, you may be uncomfortable with this. The second night, a strange peace arrives. By the third morning, you have entered the island's rhythm, when the sea breeze blows, when the water clears, when the birds fall silent. This is called the Galapagos of the world, because life here flows at the same time as the rest of the world, but detached from it. This is a place that reminds you again that the biodiversity on our planet is worth preserving not 10%, but 100%. Salar de Uyuni, Bolivia. What would it look like if the sky descended to the ground as it is? The moment you step out of the vehicle, you notice on your first step, the ground beneath your feet makes a sound. Fragile, thin, crystallized. You look down at what's under your feet. Salt. Pure, hard, millions of tons. In Bolivia, at the heart of the Andes Mountains, at an altitude of 3,600 meters, the world's largest salt flat stretches out. It covers more than 10,000 square kilometers. Completely flat, completely white. Nothing until the horizon. In the dry season, the ground is cracked into hexagonal shapes. The natural geometry of salt crystals. These were not drawn by anyone, not arranged by anyone. There was no creative director. Mother Nature drew them herself. And walking on these shapes feels like walking on a giant mosaic. In the rainy season, the world seems to double. When a few centimeters of rainwater covers the salt flat, the surface becomes a perfect mirror, the world's largest mirror. The sky is no longer only above. Clouds are beneath your feet. You try to distinguish the horizon, but there is no horizon. Reality and reflection merge into one. For photographers, this gives a sense of something essential. For mathematicians, a paradox. But for most people, it makes you feel this. For the first time in your life, you truly don't know where you're standing. And this is not frightening, it is liberating. Chocolate Hills, Philippines. Names sometimes tell us everything. As you travel by vehicle along the Green Valley on Bohol Island, first one hill appears before you, then 2 hills, then 5. Then you stop counting because there are more than 1,200 hills, and they are all identical to one another. Cone-shaped, neat, nearly perfectly symmetrical. Geologists are still puzzled. Wave erosion, coral reef remnants, millions of years of limestone formation. The answer is unclear, and this uncertainty makes the place even more enchanting. In the dry season, from January to May, the grass covering the hills withers. The colour turns chocolate brown. When you look from above, from the island's observation towers, these 1,200 hills genuinely resemble large chocolate bonbons, a green tray beneath them, as if nature wanted to be ironic here. In the rainy season, the view is not the same. Everything is green, vibrant, tropical. Birds greet you from everywhere. The air is humid but light. The observation tower involves climbing 200 steps, an overwhelming experience under the tropical sun. A hat, light clothing, and plenty of water are essential. But when you climb up, all those steps feel more worthwhile, because some views are only earned. Pamukkale, Turkey. That whiteness you see is not snow. In the Menderes Valley, under the Aegean sun, the same thing has been happening for thousands of years. Thermal waters rich in calcium carbonate rise to the surface, cool and solidify, from pool to pool, from terrace to terrace, for centuries. And what emerges, white terraces you might mistake for cotton, but which are as hard as stone, is the world's work of art. When entering the thermal waters, you are required to remove your shoes. This is not a rule. It is a gesture of respect. Millions of years of formation lie beneath your feet. Your steps are slow, your posture careful. As you go higher, the view changes, a different visual pleasure at each level. Some pools mirror the colour of the sky. Turquoise, sometimes white, sometimes a light grey. The water inside is warm, but not excessive. You swim, and around you the limestone layers convince you that this moment is real. At the very top, where the thermal waters end, something else begins. Hierapolis, a Hellenistic city from 2,000 years ago. An ancient spa city. Yes, people believed thousands of years ago too that these waters were healing. Fallen columns, broken reliefs, the remnants of what was once a great city. While swimming in the thermal pool, ancient Corinthian columns shimmer at the bottom of the water. Time and water unite here. Island of the Dolls, Mexico. Some places are beautiful, some places are meaningful, some are disturbing, and because they disturb, they are unforgettable. On a small island in the Xochimilco canals near Mexico City, among the wetlands, between the trees, along the fences, at the tips of branches, hundreds of dolls hang. Don Julian Santana Barrera lived here for years, and during that time, to appease the spirit of a small girl who had drowned in the canal, he began hanging every doll he found around the area on the tree branches. Some of them have rotted, some have no eyes, some have dishevelled hair. The sun, rain and time have changed them. When you set foot on the island, the air is not the same. This is something difficult to describe. Your mind says, these are just plastic. But there is something. when hundreds of rotten, misshapen, hollow-eyed dolls are together in one place, the feeling in the air grows heavy. They sway in every breeze. With every change of light, they take on a completely different appearance. Don Julian passed away in 2001, right there in the canal where the girl had drowned. This place is now an open museum. Thousands of tourists come every year. But all visitors say the same thing. I come out of curiosity. I live thinking. We don't know exactly what they're thinking, but they live very quietly. The hand of the desert. Chile, the Atacama. Desert is one of the driest places on Earth, and in the middle of this dryness, by the roadside, a hand made of sand reaches up to the sky. Chilean sculptor Mario Irarrázaval created this sculpture here in 1992. Mano del Desierto, the hand of the desert, 4 meters long, a hand twice the normal size, fingers open, reaching upward. For what? For whom? The answer was intentionally left vague. With every step you take, you see different things. Perhaps it's asking for help. Perhaps it's greeting you. Perhaps it's counting the mountains, saluting the hills, swirling the dust in the air. The real magic of this place is this. This sculpture shouldn't be here. There is nothing else around. The nearest city is 70 kilometers away. No electricity, no water, no shade. Just the desert and that hand. And this solitude, rather than making the sculpture meaningless, makes it more meaningful. Because seeing it is not an ordinary situation for anyone. You have to specifically visit this place to see it. That makes it a little more special. It feels as if you're visiting someone. And on the way back, only one thing remains in your mind. That hand is still out there. In the heat, in the storm, in the lonely nights. Outstretched, waiting. Lake Hillier, Australia. A pink lake, really pink. On Middle Island in southern Western Australia, right next to the Pacific Ocean, there is a 600-metre lake, and its colour is like pink candy. The first person believed to have seen it was Captain Matthew Flinders in 1802. He wrote in his journal, "We saw a lake of a pink colour. I do not know the reason." Today, the reason is still not fully known. The strongest hypothesis is that halophilic microalgae and special salt levels create this colour. But a definitive scientific explanation still does not exist, and this gives the lake a separate appeal, as if it needed one. When you stand at the edge, the colour doesn't appear quite so vivid, faint pink tones. But from above, beside the blue of the Pacific, this pink sheet immediately stands out. The contrast is almost unreal, almost as if someone combined 2 layers in Photoshop. The colour of the water does not change year after year. Other pink lakes change with the seasons. This one does not, as if it made a special decision. Sedlec Ossuary, Czech Republic. Just outside Prague, in the town of Kutná Hora, there is a small church, and inside this church, the bones of 70,000 people reside. In the 14th century, the Black Plague swept across Europe. Then wars began. This small cemetery filled up, overflowed, proved insufficient. Bones accumulated over time. And in the early 1800s, a woodcarver decided to bring some order to these bones. He made chandeliers from skulls. He formed crosses from bones. He strung decorations from shoulder blades. This is not a joke. This was meant to be a work of art. The first feeling you experience when you enter is astonishment. Then slowly you feel something different. Respect. Because these people wanted to be buried here. They wanted to fall into their eternal sleep in holy ground. And while the place they ended up is sacred, the form was different from what they expected. The owners of these bones lived 700 years ago. They fought, loved, suffered, died. Now they compose a church. They defy time, silently. Aokigahara, Japan. At the foot of Mount Fuji, there is a dense forest of 35 square kilometers, a forest grown over lava rock. The surface is irregular with gaps between the roots. The trees are so dense that rain cannot get in. You can stay dry even in a downpour. This is a very beautiful forest, truly beautiful. And this forest bewilders its visitors. But not because of its beauty, because of the contradiction between it and what happens here. Aokigahara is known as the suicide forest. Every year, many people choose this place to end their lives. This is connected to centuries of Japan's historical sorrows, to an influential novel by Seicho Matsumoto, and perhaps to that strange silence felt in this place. The level of silence is truly impossible. The lava rocks swallow sound. It is said that the magnetic field confuses compasses. You lose your sense of direction. Even if only for a short time, you can lose your way. It is difficult to make sense of this place, walking through a magnificent forest with anxiety. Moving forward, not knowing what you'll encounter around each bend, is a strange situation. Japanese authorities have put up signs. Life is precious, it says on some trees. This place is not a simple tourist spot. It is a heavy place, but it is real. Mono Lake Tufa Towers, California, USA. The water of this lake has 2 to 3 times the salinity of ocean water. And when this salinity meets freshwater springs rich in calcium rising from underground, a chemical miracle occurs. Calcium carbonate stirs beneath the water, grows, takes shape. Over years, it rises toward the surface and becomes visible. These are the Tufa Towers, stone sculptures born underwater and emerged onto land. When you look closely at them, one thing catches your attention. No two are the same. Some thin, tall, elegant, some thick and round, some intertwined. As if the same process, the same chemistry, responds differently each time. The lake is quite quiet. When the wind passes between the rocks, it seems to whistle. No birds, no trees, almost no human voices. This silence is not empty. You can hear your own breathing. Don't step on the towers. They are fragile, formed very slowly, structures that cannot be restored once something happens to them. Walk on the marked paths. The visual feast here is the reward for the time you spend. The Wave, Arizona, USA. the hardest place in the world to visit. And it's not about money, it's an hourglass. Only 64 people are allowed into this canyon of Navajo sandstone each day. These 64 people are not selected by reservation. It is entirely by luck. They are chosen by lottery. There are people who have applied for years and never won. And when you win, no one guides you. No one gives you hints. You'll find it yourself with GPS coordinates and illustrated maps. But when you find it, you understand why it is so protected. Red, orange, yellow, pink. The colours flow. There are waves in the stone, as if someone painted on rock with a giant brush. The painter here is not time. It is the pressure, heat and minerals created by millions of years of accumulation. And it never looks the same. Orange before noon, copper in the afternoon, and blood red at sunset. When the noon sun is directly overhead, all shadows disappear. Every corner is illuminated. That's when you can see the depth of the stone. It is normal not to know what to expect when you enter here, but when you leave, you know one thing. You know just one thing. This place wants to be chosen and to be shared with very few. Rainbow Mountain, Peru. Until 2013, nobody knew about this place. In the Andes Mountains in Vinicunca, there was a snow-covered mountain. Then, due to climate change, the snow melted. And what emerged from beneath it was something no one had anticipated, a mountain covered in stripes of red, pink, green, yellow, and blue. This is not a painting or a canvas. These are rock layers that accumulated over centuries, each containing a different mineral. Iron oxide gives red. Clay enriched with sulfur turns yellow. Chlorite and other minerals contribute green and pink. It feels like a small science experiment, but at this scale, in these vivid colours, you understand that nature's palette is far richer than any artist's. Altitude here is no joke. You're at 5,000 metres above sea level. Each step demands a little more effort. Breaths become a little shorter. This effort gains its true meaning when you reach the summit, because views found after heavy steps taken settle more deeply within you. This place is something that climate change has both destroyed and revealed, both a loss and a discovery. Easter Island, Chile. When you walk out of Mataveri Airport, the first thing you feel is not the warmth, it's silence. In the middle of the Pacific Ocean, 3,500 kilometres from the nearest land, on a tiny island, giant stone statues await you. Moai, more than 900, each weighing tons, each made by hand, with stone tools, with unknown technology, a system and an immense belief. When you go early in the morning, you can watch the sunrise while 15 statues stand in a row with their faces toward the sea. As time passes, shadows stretch, the colour of the stone changes. For a moment, you deeply feel all that human labour, belief, and the often unnoticed aesthetics. Nobody fully knows. How were they transported? Why were they made? Why did the Rapa Nui civilization collapse? There are theories: deforestation, social collapse, diseases brought from outside, but no definitive answer. And this uncertainty takes this place beyond being a tourist attraction and turns it into a question. We suggest not expecting a luxury vacation before you come. Anakena Beach, the island's most beautiful beach, welcomes you. Turquoise water, white sand. But the real journey is not here, it's inward. Not crowded, but solitary. Not busy, but quiet. This place opens itself not to those who love speed, but to those who know how to be still. Death Valley, USA. Hottest, lowest, driest. These three mosts come together in the heart of North America. Walking on the salt flat, hexagonal crystal patterns extend beneath your feet. The white of the salt crashes into the blue of the sky. This contrast is so sharp that your eyes take a while to find their balance. And mountains surround you, pink, green, purple, yellow. They have been painted by mineral oxidation. In summer, the temperature here approaches 50 degrees, like a giant hairdryer blowing in your face. A comparison made by everyone who experiences the heat. When you stand in areas where the sand holds still, you can hear your own heartbeat. No bird sounds, no leaf sounds, only the desert's own voice, which is also a kind of silence. This place is beautiful and dangerous. Here you can plan sunset walks in summer, carry plenty of water, truly plenty. Don't rush. Rushing here means not listening to your body. Antelope Canyon, Arizona. US. Eye light behaves unusually here. On Navajo native land, near the town of Pudge, there are cracks on the surface so small you would barely notice them. You enter. The walls narrow, and at some point you look up. The sky appears only as a thin strip. Then the light comes. At noon, when the sun falls at the perfect angle, the sandstone walls begin to glow orange. Not a glittery shine. This is light coming from within, as if the stone itself is burning. The colour shifts from copper to gold, from red to pink depending on the angle of view. The upper canyon is narrower, darker, more mysterious. The lower canyon is V-shaped. More light enters, colours are more vivid, the walking path is narrower. Both are different, both are unique. Trying to take photographs here is like trying to capture reality. It can be photographed, but that inner glow of the stone cannot be fully conveyed. Some things are only experienced offline. Lake Natron, Tanzania. The first time you see this lake in northern Tanzania, you feel as if you're looking at a painting. Deep red, vivid pink, burnt orange. This doesn't seem like a lake, but a canvas. But as you approach the painting, the truth behind the colour reveals itself. pH value between 10 and 12, equivalent to ammonia. This water burns unprotected skin upon contact, slippery like soap, but effective like acid. Most living things cannot approach this water, but flamingos do. Millions of flamingos visit this lake to breed. They cannot do this anywhere else. The alkaline mud keeps predators away. and thus flamingos have developed a skin resistant to this lethal water. Nature has made a strange deal here. The environment of death protects life. This may be the most beautiful form of contradiction. Danger here becomes a defense mechanism. Life shelters within death. Champagne Pool, New Zealand. This place resembles a glass of sparkling wine. Its name comes from that. In the Waiotapu geothermal region on the North Island of New Zealand, a hydrothermal explosion 900 years ago opened a crater 65 metres in diameter. And today in that crater, a lake has formed that is constantly boiling with carbon dioxide bubbles rising from underground, extraordinarily rich in minerals. As in other places, the colours here are quite wild. Orange and red silica layers have accumulated at the lake's edges. In the centre, the water is deep blue. In some corners, yellow. In some corners, green. No matter what moment you look, each time you encounter a completely different colour palette. This lake overflows and flows into another lake, the Artist's Palette. From there into silica muds, then into terraces. With each flow, the colour changes. Mineral layers are added and removed, like nature's own symphony. Eternal Flame Falls, New York, USA. Waterfall, and behind it, a burning flame. These two should not exist together, but here they do. In Shell Creek Park, through beech forests, you walk along a small stream. The ground is uneven, some parts slippery. A sound grows gradually louder, and suddenly, behind water pouring down from about 9 metres high, from a stone crevice, a golden orange flame burns. This is formed by natural gas seeping from underground that spontaneously ignites. Sometimes water or wind extinguishes it, but bring a lighter in your pocket. You can relight it. When you stand next to the flame, you feel both at the same time. The mist of cold water and the warmth of the flame are felt simultaneously. This contradiction tells us something. What is the message it gives you? Fly Geyser, Nevada, US. Miracles are natural, aren't they? This one is not. In 1964, an energy company drilled a test well here. The well was not properly sealed. Underground water rose to the surface under pressure. Then mineral accumulation began. And over time, an abandoned well transformed into a strange, enchanting, colourful structure. Thermophilic algae covered this structure in green, red and orange velvets. Water continuously spurts from multiple points, forming layered terrace pools around it, like something out of a Dr. Seuss cartoon. What gives this place its beauty is that mistake, an accident born from the meeting of human intervention and nature. And this makes it both ironic and meaningful. Some beauties are not designed, some emerge by accident. Spotted Lake, Canada. On the western shore of the Similkameen Valley in Canada, something very strange happens in summer. Water evaporates. And what they leave behind, magnesium sulfate, calcium, sodium sulfate, forms colourful circular spots on the surface. Hundreds of spots, each a different colour. Their number and colour change according to the mineral composition, and that is precipitation. The indigenous Okanagan people call this lake Kliluk. They have a belief that has continued for centuries. They believe each spot has its own unique healing power. Even during times of war, two sides stop fighting over this lake. From a distance, it has an almost mystical appearance. Examined closely, it is pure chemistry, but neither perspective is incomplete. None of these places has specially invited you. They are not calling you. You go to them. Because something stirs inside you. A voice that knows there is something beyond the mold the world presents to you, and that wants to see those things. And after seeing, you return, but not as the same you. Now you are both a little smaller and a little greater, both at the same time. And that is the paradox no travel guide will ever warn you about. You pack your bags thinking you are going somewhere. You book the flight, you plan the route, you read the reviews, you tell yourself you are prepared. But preparation is a comfortable lie we tell ourselves before the places that matter most. Because the places that truly change you are not the ones you are ready for. They are the ones that found you before you found them. Think about it. You didn't just stumble upon these places. Something led you here. A photograph that wouldn't leave your mind. A sentence someone said that lodged itself between your ribs. A morning when you woke up and felt with a certainty you couldn't explain that the world was larger than the one you'd been living in. That is not coincidence. That is the map your inner life has been drawing all along. And these places are the coordinates. The gate of hell didn't need you to witness it. It burned for 50 years before you arrived, and it will burn long after you're gone. The moai didn't turn to face you. The tufa towers didn't rise from the water for your camera. Dead Valais trees didn't hold their shape through 6 centuries of drought. So that you could stand among them and feel something. And yet, you felt something. That is entirely, completely yours. No one can take that from you. Not time, not distance, not the return to ordinary life. Because here is what these places do, quietly, without announcing it. They recalibrate you. They remind your body what scale actually feels like. In a world that has become very good at making everything feel urgent, important, and close. A world of notifications and deadlines and the relentless noise of being needed. These places offer the one thing that has become almost impossible to find: perspective, real perspective. Not the kind you get from a motivational quote or a weekend away. The kind that settles into your bones when you stand at the edge of a crater that has been burning since before you were born, and understand wordlessly that the universe was not waiting for your arrival. And somehow, this is the part that's hard to explain to people who haven't felt it. That understanding does not diminish you. It doesn't leave you feeling irrelevant or erased. It does the opposite. Because when the noise falls away and you are standing in a place that exists completely outside of human ambition, you begin to hear something you forgot was there. Your own signal, quiet, steady, and surprisingly clear. That's what these places give you. Not memories, not photographs, though you'll take hundreds. Not stories, though you'll tell them for years. What they give you is a moment of absolute honesty. A moment when the performance stops, the self-consciousness dissolves. And you are simply a person standing in front of something real, something that has been here longer than your worries and will remain long after they've passed. You will go back to your life. Of course you will. The meetings will resume. The routines will reassemble themselves around you like they always do. And there will be days, many days, when everything feels small and loud and too close. But somewhere behind your eyes, you will carry what you saw. The pink lake beside the blue ocean. The black trees on the white clay. The hand reaching up from the desert floor. The fire that refuses to go out. These are not postcards, these are anchors. And when the world presses in too hard, when the ordinary threatens to become the only thing, you will close your eyes and go back, not in nostalgia, but in remembrance. A reminder that the world is stranger and more generous and more alive than any single life can fully contain. That is why people go. Not for the photographs, not for the passport stamps, not even for the stories. They go because somewhere, in the middle of the impossible and the ancient and the quietly burning, they find the part of themselves that the daily world doesn't have room for. The part that knows, has always known, that beauty is not decoration. It is evidence. Evidence that existence, at its core, is worth the trouble of paying attention. So go, while the flame still burns, while the salt still mirrors the sky, while the trees still stand in their centuries of silence. Go, not to escape your life, but to remember what your life is made of. The world is not waiting for you, but it will be there when you arrive.